Page 22, Bridge Over Troubled Water. 4/4 time signature. There's no sharps or flats in the key signature. We're in the key of C major. Make sure you can do the C major scale. And in my opinion, you probably should also do the A minor scale. It has no sharps or flats in the key signature also. Let's just cover this first one hand at a time, make sure we got the rhythms and notes and fingers working right. I spend a lot of time on some of these videos on fingering. I work the hands out one at a time. I get into it a little bit, maybe too much. I don't think it's too much. The point is the fingering you use is really, really important. Don't just take it for granted. And sometimes the fingering in the book, it works well, and sometimes it doesn't. And I like to give you alternatives because people's hands are different sizes and you have to adjust for that. So I go into a lot of depth on the fingering. Don't rush over it, please. Starting out up here, 1, 3, and it's 1 and 2 and 3, and then want the thumb on the F, because we got a C coming up. We need to be in this position. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and 1 and 2 and cross over. So if you're doing the C major scale, this is in it, so this is no big hope. And then come down. Then want fourth finger again. You can, that's fine if you want. You can also use some other finger, but the second F up there in measure 4, the second F needs to be with fourth finger. I don't care what finger you use to play the first F, any finger, but then fourth finger. That way you're ready to go on to measure 5. 1 and 2 and 3 and rest and 2 and 3. 2 and 3 and 4 and during rest come up. Measure 8, 1 and 2. Try and connect the melody. If you can, because it's like here to here is fine, but then you got to go to your thumb's got to come down. So you just lift up on the thumb and then come down. And you think, why? What's the important? Well, because there are many times in piano music you need to do this. So if you can get into the practice and the habit of doing it now, you're a little further ahead, a little better off. Measure 10. You're here 1, 2, 3 during the rest. 1 and they got here. I disagree. Just come down. Bring your third finger down one note. Need to cross over the thumb there, and during the rest come down. 1 and 2 and. Now technically the way this is written, it's 1 and 2 and. I mean, it's a little confusing the way it's written because you only see like 3.5 counts in that measure. It's missing half a count. 1 and 2 and 3 and, like so. You're missing a rest. Well, what they do sometimes in music is they'll take both staves, the music for both staves, and they write it in a way that it's like one giant staff. I've never liked this way of doing it, but that's the way they do it. So I guess you sort of have a choice here on which way you want to do this. Measure 13. You can play it as a quarter note and then add a quarter or an eighth rest. 1 and 2 and, because on beat 2, the G in the bottom staff is on beat 2. 1 and 2 and. Or, if you'd like to hold it out, just hold it out for the full until you're 1 and 2 and. Just lift up, just for that. That's the way it's written, who knows. It's just, I'll leave it up to you and your teacher on how you do that. The pedal covers it all up anyway, but I'll talk about the pedal in a little bit. I got some suggestions on pedal. However, I do suggest on the B, excuse me, here, you play that with thumb. Here, not second finger. This way, you're ready to go on to the next measure. 1 and 2 and 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. See, now on measure 15, they put a dot behind the quarter note. Anyway, play this one as a dotted quarter note. 1 and 2 and 3 and then cross over. Rest. During the rest, come up. 1 and 2 and 3. And I do a 4 here. You can do a 5 if you want. I find that a little more uncomfortable. However, if you don't want to be up in here, then you need a second finger here. Then you do need a 5. So it's, and that's tricky. Yeah. Again, the pedal will help us out here. So how you finger measure 17, I'm going to leave up to you. But it's just, for me, it's easier for me to use 4th finger on the D because it's there. And I just stay there, 4th finger, because I need 5th finger again here. So it's, and you can connect these if you want. It's good practice. And then lift up and come down. And I'd say a 2-4 if your hand's big enough. Then lift up and come down. I don't like that, lifting up like that. I want to feel this melody. But we can't, the way this is arranged, so okay. Here, and then come down. And you can use 2-4, I recommend it. And then for measure 20, 1-4 like they're showing. If you don't want to do this, then you got to do this. Well, that means you got to do a 5 for measure 20. It depends on how big your hands are, on how you finger it. The fingering in the book is fine. If your hands are small enough, then go on 1 and. Now on measure 21, I suggest a 3rd finger on the C. This way I'm protecting the melody. I can connect it all. Same thing. And then again, measure 25, 3rd finger on the C. Different rhythm than we had before. Left hand. Well, okay. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Now if you want, because we're going back and forth between the G and the A, if you look across the first line, and further actually, you can use 2nd finger on the G if you want. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. So we're just doing that. 1 and 2 and the thumb doesn't have to do everything. 3 and the second line. 1 and 2 and 3 and. Now you can go ahead and figure these like the regular chords. That's fine. Trying to use 2nd finger here in measure 5 doesn't work so well because when you add the 3rd note, it messes things up. So if you want, just go ahead and use 1 and 5 here. 5 and 1. And then measure 7. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Just watch the rhythm and you've got it. Go down to measure 13. It's just a broken G chord. 1 and 2, and you're done. And then next measure there, measure 14. 1 and 2. And then you're hanging on to it. 1 and 2. Measure 16. 1 and 2 and then. So measure 17. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. Over. Just lift up and come down. This is measure 22. 1 and 2 and 3. 4th finger now. This is fine. Lift up. Put the hands together at the beginning. We're here. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. And right on measure 5, the last, when I play the chord, the right hand comes up. 1 and 2 and is tricky. And let's be accurate here. As far as the sound goes and the paddling they got, it won't sound any difference, but we still want to be accurate. So this is measure 7. That E is 2 counts. It comes up on beat 3. Well, I'm not actually playing a note initially on beat 3. I played the C right before beat 3. So it comes up right after I play that. Right after I play that C, the right hand comes up. 1 and 2 and 3 and. Try and be accurate. 1 and 2 and 3 and. And again, measure 10. 1 and 2 and 3 and. See, that's all by itself. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. Trying to connect everything with the hands I can, except of course for the reds. So you go through and put the hands together. Now when you first do it, you're probably hesitating all over the place, trying to just get them to work. That's okay. But you go back over and over, and especially those spots where you're hesitating, and concentrate on those and get rid of the hesitations. The beat needs to be a steady beat. Then as far as articulation goes, you just have slurs. There's no accents, there's no staccatos. Just connect everything as best you can. You can lift up between the slurs, but most of the time you get a rest, you have to lift up anyway. The left hand, connect it as best you can. Even though there's nothing marked, connect it. It's like on measure 17. In the left hand you're here, and then they give you slur. I just connect all that together. Connect it all. I don't know why they're giving you a slur on measure 21. And they don't give you a slur on measure 20. To me, you slur all together in the right and the left hand there. So as far as dynamics, well, moderately soft, and that's the right hand here. The left hand needs to stay in the background. Whatever you think moderately soft is, it's sort of soft. Staying sort of there. You don't have to stay exactly there. You can get a little louder and softer as you feel it. That comes later in interpreting the music. Right now you're just staying pretty much there. And then at the end of the page on measure 15, you're going to come up to loud here. So you're sort of soft. This, connect that flows into it. And now again, we're talking about the melody. We're not talking about all the other stuff is supporting stuff. It needs to stay in the background. Doesn't matter which hand is playing it, because the right hand isn't playing melody all the time. For instance, look at measure 13. The melody's first beat. That's melody. That B, that's not melody. It needs to be the same loudness as the left hand. To me, it needs to sound like one hand played the whole thing. And on measure 15, that's melody, that's not. So when you crescendo, you're only going to crescendo up to about a moderately loud here. Then the right hand takes over the loud. So we know a difference between a melody note and a non-melody note. The listener should be able to tell. Without even knowing the song, they should still be able to tell which notes are melody and which are not by how you're treating them. So careful on that. So you're going up to moderately loud for measure 16 here, and now you're going to be loud in the right hand. You're staying loud until third line down, measure 23, there's a dim. They snuck a dim in there. Diminuendo means gradually gets softer, and if you look at measure 26, it has an MP for moderately soft. You're going to take these measures, 3 measures, to go from loud to moderately soft. So I suggest measure 23, you stay loud, and then come down a little bit to moderately loud, and then just a hair lower. Now you're moderately soft. You're moderately soft and you're ready to go back to measure 5. Ideally, you get to know this well enough that you're comfortable, you're past the mechanics, and you're just getting into the music. You feel the dynamics. If you feel like getting a little louder somewhere, get a little louder somewhere. Just make sure it's the melody. Keep everything else in the background. Well, for the speed, they say sweetly. That's not a speed, that's a mood. But a lot of pieces, where they're supposed to tell you how fast to go, instead of that, they'll tell you what mood you should be. And from that, okay, if you're going to do it sweetly, how fast is it? Well, how fast can you be sweetly? To me, that's part of interpreting the music. So sweetly doesn't mean anything until I can get past the mechanics. I'm getting into it. It simply means it's going to be a sweet song. You can find all kinds of recordings of this, but be careful not to play it really fast or really slow. If you play it really slow, it drags. If you play it really fast, it takes the whole atmosphere of the piece away. It's not sweetly anymore, it's a horse race. No. Now, once you can get all that, then we can think about the pedal. Nice to have a little pedal in here for the overtones and to help us connect some of the notes that we can't connect with the fingers. Now remember, if you're going to pedal, you pedal for specific reasons, or don't pedal. Know why you're pedaling. If you can't figure out why you're pedaling, then just leave the pedal out. If you hear the difference in the sound between the pedal and no pedal, you'll start to get, oh yeah, I think I would like a little pedal here for the sound. You're doing it for the sound, really. It'll help you out. It's going to be overlapping pedals, so the notes go down first and then the pedal. But I would like to hear the rest and some of the phrasing and so forth. So I'm going to adjust the pedaling just a little bit. Now starting at measure 5. If I pedal it just the way they're showing, this is it. They're changing it pretty much with each measure, sort of. Occasionally they change it with a beat, but that's their pedaling. It's okay if you're not listening too carefully. However, I want to hear some of the rest on the right hand. So the first line is actually not too bad until you get to measure 4. I'm going to lift the pedal up with the right hand. So those two F, no pedal, they're by themselves. And I don't pedal measure 5 until beat 4. I want this clean. I want this simple. And I'm pedaling the chords to connect them. I can't connect them without the pedal, so I'm just connecting. And I'm lifting up. I'll hold that down. I'm not pedaling. The next measure I can pedal because nothing's going on. So measure 5, you're here. See, it's a little more fuller here. Gives a little contrast to the simple at the beginning. I like the contrast. And I'm on measure 11. Pedal from the C pedal, and then change it here. So we get the overtones. And then you don't need to pedal this. They want pedaling in here, okay. on measure 14, I only pedal the first 2 beats. I don't want to smear. I don't want all that. Ugh. And then on measure 15, I lift it up after I play the C. There's no pedal here, and now you can pedal. And anytime you may need the pedal to help you connect the notes that you can't, you got to pedal that. Actually, they're pedaling there at top of page 23 isn't too bad. Let's start with measure 16. You're here. That's not too bad. I like that. We can get away with that. It's louder, it's more exciting, we're there. So yeah, we can have more pedal. So you kind of experiment with the pedal, but listen carefully. If it's too blurry for you, change it or leave the pedal out, whichever. I don't know. It's up to you and your ears and what you like hearing. You have to listen very carefully. I like to play it with you very slowly to double check the notes and the rhythms. Not going to do any dynamics. I will do the repeats and all that though, so I'll give us 4 counts. I'll try and pedal it as I suggested. 1, 2, ready, go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 2. And 4 and 1 and 2 and 2 and 3 and 2. Two. Second ending, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, off.